Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, 3rd October 2022 edition of Storytelling by and for Adults. And Priya, are you ready?
Yes, Eric.
Yes. Priya, please introduce yourself fully. Tell us about your work and please tell us a story.
Yes, thank you so much, Eric. Good evening to everybody. My name is Priya Narayan and I am from Mumbai, that is in India. And primarily by profession, I'm an educator and a writer and a storyteller by passion. And I work a lot with children, especially in terms of psychology, in terms of art, and in terms of life skill training. I've also recently started working with adults on the same lines. And it was in 2016 that I did my storytelling course in Mumbai. And that's when we were given a picture prompt. And so the story which I am going to share today is the first short story that I ever wrote. So I have been a content writer, a content blogger since the past 19 years. So I've always been writing content on different topics, on different genres, even writing poetry, but never got into the field of writing stories. So this was the first story that I ever wrote, and that's why it's very close to my heart. I always write my stories inspired on events which happen in real life. So this was one such story. And so I'll start my story. Absolutely nervous looking at everybody because I work so much with children that with adults I get a little too conscious, but I'll make a good attempt. So the name of this story is The Open Window. There's a small hill station in Himachal Pradesh called as Shimla. When you think of Shimla, all that you can think of is beautiful mountains filled with snow, a crisp, clean air which carries earthly scents, scents of pine, oak, and deodar trees. Beautiful landscapes, colorful flowers. That's what comes to your mind when you think of this beautiful place called as Shimla. There you'll find cottages of every size, color, and shape. A beautiful place indeed. And that's why it is the most famous destination in India. But Shimla was also well known for something else. And that was a cute, beautiful little girl called as Meera. Meera was a bubbly and a very beautiful girl. And everybody in Shimla knew Meera. She was as fair and beautiful as the moon, with long cascading hair, which would remind you of Rapunzel's hair. Eyes that were deep green and shaped just like a dove's eyes. Her cheeks were pink, just like the apples of Shimla, and her lips were as rosy as if they were dipped in the nectar. And she had a smile that would really steal anyone's heart. She was made of something different. People just loved her and adored her, not only for her looks, but also for her lovely voice. She indeed had a nightingale's voice, and she would sing amazingly. And on top of it, she had a heart of gold. She simply loved making friends, and she would talk with everybody that she would come across on the road. That was Meera. There was hardly anybody who didn't know Meera. So now you would think, oh wow, Meera's life is picture perfect, wouldn't you? But there is something more to Meera than just her looks and just her talent. One look at Meera and you would realize that everything is not well with Meera. Just as a lovely moon has a black mark on it, as if to shield itself from the negative eyes, or you would call as the evil spirit, just like that, the beautiful moon like Meera had also a black spot. And her black spot were her bent, crooked legs. One look at her legs, and you would know that all is not well in Meera's life. Meera was not only intelligent, but she was also an athlete and a Bharatnatyam dancer. She loved music to the core. and each and every form of creative expression. From the age of 6, Meera was a vivacious sports person, an athlete, and also a dancer. It so happened that at the age of 13, Meera and her schoolmates had gone for an excursion. And unfortunately, there she met with a terrible accident. An accident that damaged the nerves of her legs forever. Her parents and even Meera was devastated. They just couldn't believe what had happened to little Meera. They traveled all over the country and sought each and every treatment that could be possible. But unfortunately, the delicate nerves of Meera's legs were permanently damaged, which resulted in legs which were shaped like a bow. She would often stumble and wibble and wobble and would often walk with the help of crutches. That was a big downturn for Meera. Somewhere, Meera had lost her bubbliness and her inner childlike innocence after the accident. Yes, she did pick herself up and she pulled on. She sang, she studied, but that bubbliness and that innocence disappeared from her life. Somehow and unfortunately, life became more of what she could not do instead of what she could do. Over the years, Meera finished her college education and she moved on to her post graduation. Meera still loved making friends and she was a nature lover. Every day on the way to school, she would stop by and she would smell the flowers. She would talk to strangers. She would pet all the animals that she would see and she would chit chat with everybody. And she would hum songs on the way back and forth from college. One fine morning, when Meera stepped out for her morning lectures, she turned just right down, and across the road was Uncle John's cottage. Uncle John was a father's best friend, and he simply adored Meera because Uncle John and Meera had a common passion that was music. Both were music lovers, and Uncle John's cottage had a very small outhouse which he had converted into a music class. Every day, there would be different music classes and events happening in Uncle John's cottage. And Meera used to be a part of most of his events. She just loved music, and music was the only reason for her to keep going ahead in life. As she just stepped outside and she saw a big poster outside Uncle John's gate, which wrote, "Guitar classes coming soon, limited seats." And Meera's eyes lit up. Wow, did she read it right? Guitar classes. She loved the guitar. And what a golden opportunity. It was the first time that in Shimla they were ever having guitar classes. She ran inside, and there was Uncle John sitting at the table. Well, well, Meera, he said, I was expecting you since morning. I was wondering, how come you aren't here yet? He said. Yes, yes, tell me, uncle. Tell me more about these classes. I want to know, she said. Yes, yes, wait, wait. You see, there is this young chap called as Manav, and he's from Delhi. He's a real musician at heart. I'm sure you will like him. And he wants to spread music all over the country. And this time, he's coming to our own Shimla and he's having his classes here. You see, he's got big plans. He wants to build a music academy in Shimla. I'm sure you will like him. Here, take the form. And he handed over the form to Meera. Meera was very excited. And that day, she returned home sooner than usual. She went to her dad and said, Papa, Papa, do you know something? There is this new guitar classes which is going to start at Uncle John's house. And I really want to join it. Her father would do anything to make his little daughter happy. And he said, yes, definitely. And he gave her the permission to join the class. The next few days, again, Meera became her old self. She was excited and bubbly. She ran practically all over the place, buying a new bag, buying new dresses, buying a new pad, buying even a new pen, and of course, a brand new guitar. She was really very excited for a new beginning. Sooner than expected, the D-Day came. She got ready and walked slowly with her crutches to the music class. There was Uncle John standing right at the gate, and he welcomed her with a broad grin. And he said, Meera, you are earlier than usual today. And yes, please come. Manav has come and he is waiting for you. I have told him lots about you, and I'm sure he's also excited to see you. She quickly walked as fast as she could with her crutches. And just as soon as she came near the water cooler, she froze. Standing in front of her was a man. Or would she say a boy? No, no, he was a man, tall and dark. Hmm, dark or darker or darkest? Maybe he was as dark as the no moon day, she thought. And wait a minute, did he have a ponytail? Oh, yes. And he was drinking gallons of water from the jug that was kept on the water cooler. She frowned. She looked at his clothes and said, who's this guy? I'm sure, and I hope he's not the guitar teacher. I'm sure Uncle John would have kept somebody better. Guitar? He looks like a hippie, and I'm sure he has no sense of music, she thought to herself. And just as the train of thoughts was running in her mind, her thoughts was interrupted by this guy, a hippie, in her words. And he said, excuse me, little girl, I'm sure you are Meera, isn't it? Uncle John has told me a lot of things about you. I'm impressed, I must say. I am Manav, and I'm your guitar teacher from Delhi. That was her expression. Oh my God, is he going to be teaching me the guitar? She thought. Okay. And she went in slowly, expecting the worst. But slowly and steadily, she realized that he wasn't a bad teacher after all. He was a really very good teacher. And very soon, she started learning the guitar in a very good speed. And slowly and steadily, both of them realized that they had too many likes and dislikes that matched each other. Manav really took a liking from her, and very often he would compliment her. Oh, you look so pretty in this dress. Meera, today you've got the note on the first time I taught you. You're playing the guitar so well. He would every time compliment Meera. But Meera would always dismiss all the compliments. And she would say, oh, sir, you're being just too kind. Can't you see my legs? I'm a handicap. Don't you know that? I can't run. I can't dance. I can't swim. I can't play. So you see, nothing else matters. I can't do so many things. So it's okay if I sing. It's okay if I play the music instrument well, but I can't do so many things. At first, Manav was really shocked. Each time that she would use these words for herself, he would cringe in disappointment. What was this girl talking? So much of negative self-talk. And look at her, she's so talented, he would think. He tried every trick in the book. He tried reasoning out with her that she was not handicapped. She was capable of much more. He tried everything that he could possibly do. But Meera was stuck here. Meera's thoughts about herself, her beliefs about herself were stuck here strongly. The handicap was not with her legs. The handicap was right here and right here in her heart. And Manav was very disappointed with the way she was thinking. And one day, he decided to teach her a lesson. So one evening when she came to class, he said, Meera, I need a help from you. You see, I have just too many bags to carry. And your weather makes me very thirsty. I forget to carry my water bottle with me. Can you please get the jug of water for me in each and every class? Meera just couldn't say no. She nodded her head, but thought to herself, water? Look at the way you drink water. The way you drink water, you don't need a jug, but a water tanker, she said. And she smiled with those thoughts. In a lot of ways, Manav made him smile and giggle. He was really different, you see. And then the next day she agreed. And she had a bag in one hand and her guitar in the other shoulder. She carried the jug of water in her hand. She wibbled and wobbled. And it was so difficult that she started shaking. And she ended up spilling most of the water on the cobbled pathway on both the sides. Nevertheless, she took the jug half filled to him. He didn't say anything, but she was disappointed. How could I be so careless and clumsy? I have spilled half the bottle, she said. But he didn't mind. Days and weeks continued. And slowly, Meera and Manav started falling in love. They were hopelessly in love with each other. They didn't have any idea of what was happening. Words spoke louder than actions, and they slowly started liking each other's company. They would frequently meet out or chat on the phone or exchange long messages. Meera loved to show Manav around Shimla. After all, that was a place that she was born, and that was a place that she really took pride of. There was no beautiful place like Shimla in the whole world, she would say. And she took great pride in taking him around and making him taste all the local delicacies. They would laugh, they would crack jokes, they would sing songs, and they would do all the silly things together. People started noticing the changes in Meera. She became the old Meera again, childlike, very innocent, very bubbly, and very happy. Even her parents noticed the change, but her father wasn't happy. He somewhere knew that that boy from the city, was somewhere responsible for it. A very protective father that he was, he disapproved of that boy. Look at his dress, look at his attitude, look at the way he showed up. He somehow never approved of Manav. He always felt that Manav was someone who was very laid back and not disciplined. But nevertheless, he never interfered in his daughter's life. All he wanted was his daughter's happiness. Days passed by, and Meera became very busy in her college exams. Manav also too shifted his house to a bigger place, and he also was very busy. He was in the middle of setting up another class in Shimla. Finally, Meera finished her college exams, and the day came for her guitar exams. There was a very senior musician who was well known, and he was called for the guitar exams. Manav surely missed Meera in all those days, and that's when he realized the intensity with which he loved her. No sooner that she came, he was very happy. He handed over her the answer sheet and he made her sit on the first bench. For the next 2 hours, Manav's eyes were only and only on Meera. He was really very happy to see her. And the next day was a practical exam. The senior musician and Manav sat side by side and they took the exam of all the candidates. At the end of the 3-hour exam, everybody heaved a sigh of relief. Oh, it was such an ordeal. For the first time, they all were giving such a difficult exam and they were all extremely nervous. No sooner that the exam got over, Meera and Manav started exchanging glances towards each other. They wanted to speak to each other, but they were surrounded by too many people. And just when Meera thought that now is the chance, when Manav was a little alone, what happened? There was a storm of young girls. A group of 5 girls just entered the class and they surrounded Manav. Wait a minute, she had never seen these girls before. They looked like young college girls. Oh, they must be new to Shimla, she thought. She glanced at them casually. They all were tall and slender with athletic legs, and they all were dressed in Western clothes. And just for a minute, she looked at them with jealousy. Wow, don't they all look so beautiful and gorgeous? I wish I was like them. I wish I had legs like them. And I wish I was so tall and slender like them. The sting of jealousy suddenly hit Meera. She waited and waited, but somehow the chitter chatter never got over. She glanced at Manav, and Manav seemed to be engrossed in deep talk with all of them. And suddenly, she experienced a storm. Just like a beehive, when it is disturbed, all the bees rush out in a storm. The same way, Mira's heart and mind were disturbed by a bout of jealousy, by a bout of negative thoughts, by a bout of anything that was not good. And as the beehive in her mind and heart got distorted, in flew a Pandora's box of negative thoughts. Oh, she thought, look at Manav. Isn't he happy with those girls? They all look perfect, and he looks perfectly made for him. Wait a minute. He looks himself, just himself with them. And why will he be interested in somebody like me? Somebody who's like a handicapped? No, no. So silly am I. I have been building castles of love and romance in my head. How stupid I am. Definitely, a young, handsome chap like Manav will never be interested in a local girl like me. How could I be so silly? She thought. With this realization came anger, came sadness, came guilt, and tears in her eyes. Very soon, her cheeks turned red and she decided to leave the place. Unfortunately, she did not see the discomfort in Manav's body language. She failed to see that Manav was struggling to break away from those girls and come and speak to her. She only saw what her limiting mind wanted her to see and not the bigger picture. She quickly took her bag and rushed back home. She wanted to go back home and do nothing. No sooner that she went home, she flung her crutches, her bag, and her guitar on the bed and started crying. She banged the door shut and just didn't want to come out. Her parents were very worried, and her father feared that the worst could have happened. He was really angry and furious with that boy. He was sure that he would have said something to her. But unfortunately, he had no evidence. He called up Uncle John and inquired, John, is everything okay? How was the exam? And John said, oh, the exams went on very well. And you know, our Meera, she was excellent. The musician who had come was talking to Manav. He wants to introduce Meera to the world of music. He's very happy with her. Said Meera's father and kept the phone down. The next 2 days, Meera was very silent. But Meera's phone wasn't. Meera's phone kept on ringing and beeping at regular intervals. And she just was not bothered. She spent her weekend sobbing, sniffing, and crying and giving it a name. Oh, I'm having a cold, she said. Then on Monday morning, she told her father, Dad, I feel now it's getting a little too much. I don't think I can handle my studies and the guitar classes. Please, can I take a break? She asked. Her father knew something was amiss, but he nodded his head. That day in the evening, she didn't take her bag, she didn't take her guitar, she didn't wear the best of her clothes. She just went as she was. She walked slowly. She didn't stop to see the beautiful flowers. She didn't stop to pet the animals. She didn't stop to talk to anybody. She just walked slowly and steadily with a heavy heart. Meera had again lost her spark. As she walked, John uncle was standing at the gate, but she didn't bother to greet him. She just gave him a faint smile. And as she went down the cobbled pathway, There was Manav standing. He wasn't standing. He was walking frantically up and down. Today, Manav looked very different. His hair was flying all over. He was wearing some old t-shirt and he was wearing shorts. And what was he wearing? Bathroom slippers? And his body language was just not fine. He looked very amiss. He looked very disturbed. And just as he saw her, he took her by the shoulders and he took her right into the room. He said, Meera, what the hell is wrong with you? Where have you been? I have been calling you so many times. Didn't you see my calls and messages? I have been roaming around on your road so I can catch a glimpse of you. How could you just walk away like this? And you're not even answering my calls. What the hell is wrong with you? Manav was furious. He was angry, and his voice reverberated in the whole class. And Meera was scared. Never in her life had anybody spoken to her like this. She was really very scared. And as she trembled, she said, Manav, no, sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. You see, I had a bad cold. I'm still sniffing. And I didn't see my phone. Actually, she sweated, she stumbled, and she fumbled, and she didn't know what to say. She said, "You see, sir, I don't think I can join. No. 1 minute, sir. I don't think I can continue this class again. I have lots to study. I have lots to study in college, so I want to take a break." She was really very nervous. She didn't know what to tell him. And he said, "What break? What studies?" No, I am in the final year in my master's and I have my thesis and I have lots to study. Actually, I wanted to tell you that day on Friday. But you see, you were very busy with those girls, those beautiful girls. And I just did not feel like, I didn't feel like disturbing you, sir. And after all, you wouldn't be interested in a handicapped girl like me, would you? She said. And when she said that, her face turned pale. Tears were there right in her eyes, and she controlled herself. She controlled herself so that the tears won't fall out. And Manav got more furious. What is this, sir, you're up to? And which girls? And what handicap? Dare you use those words again for yourself? He was now more furious. Don't you see what you're capable of? And he said, "Come, I want to take you somewhere." He takes her by the hand and he takes her to the big window. The one window that was there in this class, the open window. That window overlooked the cobbled pathway that led to the outhouse. And the window overlooked the beautiful garden which surrounded Uncle John's cottage. He takes her there and he says, "Look, you silly girl, look what you can do and what you can't." And as she looks outside, she sees on either side of the cobbled pathway was a beautiful flower bed. It had all kinds of flowers, white, pink, red, yellow. And she was shocked. She never saw these flowers before. When did these flowers come there? And why didn't she see them? She knew it didn't come overnight. She smelled these flowers, the same old smell, the same old fragrance. How did she ever see them? How did she never stop and smell them? She thought. And there was Manav's voice again. "You're wondering how come you never saw them, right? How will you see them? You were only busy seeing your flaws. And you are only busy painting a picture of what you can't. Isn't it, silly girl? You know something? This time when I came to Shimla, I had promised Uncle John that I would help him to plant the seeds. And I helped him. And I had promised him to take care of all these seeds and tend to his lovely garden. But the moment you started cribbing and grumbling about yourself, I wanted to teach you a lesson. What do you think? I carry so many bags. Can't I carry one water bottle? I have not one, but two water bottles in my bag. And what do you think I did told you to carry the jug of water for? Do you realize that when you were getting that jug of water, you were spilling it on both the sides and you were watering all the seeds? Did you ever realize that you were tending to these flowers? And what you see before you isn't just nature, it is your love and care that has created such a beautiful garden. And you know something? Except you, each and every person who visits this place every day has noticed this beautiful garden. And everybody has appreciated it, except for you. Do you know why? Because you were so busy thinking only about yourself, only about what you can't do, right? And, anyways, what were you telling me about those girls? Ah, beautiful, hot, and sexy girls. That's what you call them, right? Yes. Do you know who those girls were? These girls were the neighborhood town. They're having a music festival in their college after 3 months. And they had come to me. They were telling me to organize the music festival. And I said no. No? Why did you say no? It was such a great opportunity for you. Manav, how could you say no to such a big opportunity? Your career would have got set. You would have got so much of name and recognition. Why did you say a no? She was now furious at him. And he said no. I said a no because after 3 months, I am getting married. And because I'm getting married, I want to give time for my new life. Such projects will always come. And now I'm only focused on my new relationship. The moment she heard the words marriage, her crutches fell down and she sat on the chair with a thud. Did she hear it right? Marriage? And now her tears, which were still in her eyes, started flowing down. How could she? How could she? How could she have been such a fool? How could she have been such a silly girl? She had been building castles in her head about love and romance, about Manav. How could she even think of those things? And now he's talking about marriage. She should have known it all the time that he was interested in not her, but somebody else. She cried and cried inconsolably, like a child whose favorite toy had been taken away from her. She just didn't know what to say. She just didn't know what to do. She just wept. And just when the tears just seemed to dry out, and when she could see visibly, she saw Manav kneel down. Manav had a bouquet of flowers, the same flowers that were there on the cobbled pathway. And in the other hand, Manav had a box. He opened the box, which had a beautiful diamond ring shaped just like a flower. He gave it to Meera and said, "This is for you, my lady love. You are my princess, and you're not a handicap. You're the most talented and the most precious person in this whole world. Will you marry me, Meera? I promise to keep you happy as much as your dad does. And I promise to treat you like a queen." Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Very beautifully told. I hope everybody is in gallery mode now, whether or not you have been for this last section. Anybody, any thoughts, comments, questions, resonations? Moira?
Yeah, thank you for this story. It only came to me at the very end that I do know this one, the pot with the crack, the Chinese fable, and it was beautiful how you integrated it. It became on one hand, only a small part at the very end, but the whole story, on the other hand, is about nothing else. And I loved your storytelling, which came so much from the heart, and you were really living it. And I also love the images, you know, for example, the description of you, that fit of jealousy, you know, Pandora's box and the beehive, you know, the somehow unusual images, but they fit so well. So these little details I found also very inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Gustav.
The two jugs, the man that is watering on one side, and when he comes back and the jug is he doesn't realize that this watering the other side. That story, that classical story, makes me remember one part, and what's beautiful, just as Moira's Peel says, that you like take from some stories and you integrate them in this love story. It's a love story. That's what it is. It's a Jane Austen story for me. Thank you.
One approach to story composition and analysis is the idea that often in a story, a problem comes up. And then the question is, what's going to happen? How is it going to be resolved? In this case, the problem was her leg injuries. And as was pointed out, there was more her problem, her emotional, psychological problem was more of an issue than the actual physical problem. But that was the problem. And then when the guitar music lessons came up, then we were all thinking, is this going to lead to a resolution? And of course it did. Not the music in itself, but the music teacher.
So, I mean, I got inspired because, you know, a lot of times in life, we all are just, especially, I would say, with credits to social media, you know, we all, irrespective of whoever we are, wherever we are, we're always in this constant state of comparison. And somehow, I think we all are in the state of, I can't. You know, we all have got this conditioning in our mind of different things. You know, I can't. So somewhere I think we all need to break. I mean, obviously there is going to be somebody else who's going to be better at something else. Obviously, if somebody is a great singer, maybe that person might not be a great musician. If somebody is a great writer, like I have been writing since 19 years. I mean, I can wake up at the dead of the night and write, but I might not be good at something else. Like I am still learning the basics of technology. I'm still not that great at it. So, I mean, when we are restricting ourselves to this can't, then that becomes the can't is more here and here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we need all to break that can't and make it into can. Don't stop comparing, which I think we all are very great at, the comparing thing.
Okay, well, again, beautifully told. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll stop the recording.